Everybody's doing well. I decided today to do a little editing video because I've had some people ask me about how I edit. So I wanted to decided to kind of create an editing video so you guys can kind of see a process. I'm going to try to speed through it, but just give you a general idea, and then you guys are going to take the information and go about it how you do it. So a little backstory here. I did this in Columbus, Ohio. I was doing a little lighting workshop with some photographers. I travel sometimes to show people how I light pictures, how I light subjects, how I pose, and just how generally conduct a photo shoot and how I create the pictures that I create. So when I got to Columbus, Ohio this weekend, it was extremely rainy. You know, I had already had the tickets. I couldn't postpone the trip, but it rained literally every day I was there, and even the day I flew back home. But we found a spot in the library in Columbus and we were able to work and I was able to get some great images. I was able to even use some off-camera flash, which was like a bonus because a lot of times in these places they don't allow flash. You have to be careful, but I was lucky. I was able to get some shots with the flash and do what I needed to do. So, um I'm using for this, I'm using my Nikon um Z6 III. I'm shooting at 1 over 200 f1.8 ISO 100, and I'm shooting with my 35 millimeter lens, um, my 35 millimeter 1.8S. So we have the image here in Lightroom. The light is coming from the top of the stairs and is shooting into her, and then you can kind of see the gradual fall off as it goes into her legs, her lower half of her body. But her face is illuminated, which is exactly what I was going for. So I kind of use a general preset to start all my pictures. A little bit of brightening here, um, which I do at 60. Highlights, I keep at 20. Um, Shadows, I keep at 20 as well. Whites at 20. Blacks at -20. And that's just contrast. Clarity, I have at 10. Dehaze, I have at 10. Um, Now, when you're doing landscapes and food photography and things like that, you can do whatever you want with these numbers. But I tend to think with subjects, you really don't want to go too crazy, over brightening, over highlighting, overshadowing. I'll give you some examples. If I raise the shadows to 100, it doesn't look as real. Some people do this. Some people make great images with this. I personally don't like that look, so I'm going to bring it down to 20. Like I said, everything is subtle with me. Clarity is a big one. When I got into street photography and my cityscapes many years ago, I was big on raising clarity. But if you do that with a person in the frame and you raise the clarity to 100, if you look carefully, her skin looks awful. And you don't really want to do that unless you're trying to make a cartoon. So I keep it at 10. Sometimes you don't even have to have clarity. I just like the little contrast clarity gives me. The same thing with the haze. If I bring this from 10 to 100, you can see no good. So I'll keep that at 10. And texture is another one. You have to be careful with texture. These are ones that you really don't want to use for portraits too much. We'll keep that at 0. But I just wanted to show you that. So I always put that preset in my edit. I leave the white balance at auto. Sometimes I change that if I'm using a gel, a colored gel. I may make that temperature adjustment a little different. But my Nikon cameras, I love the way Nikon handles skin tone. So I very rarely ever change this. Um, so once I put that preset in that I've made up, I will mask the subject. And this is the one thing I love about Adobe Lightroom now as opposed to how it was years ago. I'm going to mask my subject. And when I hit the mask feature and then I click on subject, it found the person. So now any edit I do will only be on the person, not anything else. This won't get touched. The railings won't get touched or anything. And I'm just going to brighten her a little bit. I'll do a 20. I'll add a little contrast. Let's say 12. Um, and that's it. I don't have to brighten her anymore. I'm going to click this button and I'm going to leave it there. Okay. So now that I've done what I wanted to do, I do need to deal with her skin. I need to deal with these bumps. I need to smoothen her skin out. I think, she would like to be a little more smooth. I want to get rid of these blemishes. And although you can do this in Adobe Lightroom, I think Photoshop is the best tool for this. So I'm going to hit um, edit in Photoshop beta. You can do this in regular Photoshop if that's all you have. It's fine to use that in regular Photoshop. I have both, and I use the beta because they constantly come up with new updates and new features that I really like. So I stick with the beta for now. So the first thing I'm going to do, I know I need to attack her skin. I need to get some of these bumps out of the way, and I'm going to deal with that. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a duplicate layer so that if I make any mistakes, I can just go back. I can get rid of the layer if I have to. I don't have to, I'm not compromising the actual picture. So I see a lot of videos on editing and removing bumps and blemishes, and they're really good. But what I don't see people use is this particular tool. They have the spot healing blush, the remove tool, the healing brush, the patch tool. Those are all good. I use the content aware tool. This is what I've been using for years, and I'm really one of those people. If it ain't broke, I don't try to fix it. So this is what I've been doing, and I want to remove all these bumps. So with the content aware tool, if you use your you circle a bump, and if you hold the shift button, you circle the next bump, then you still, while holding the shift button, I'm holding the shift key and I'm just circling all the blemishes that I can find in her face. Everything I can find. Okay? And I am being a little bit detailed here, more than I wanted to be in this video, but I do want to give the viewers, you guys, a nice final image, not a complete speed through. So just stick with me, guys. Don't go away. Just watch the video. Um, all right, so now I've gotten this part of her face. I'm going to hit edit, fill, content aware, hit OK, and then I hit the Control D to release the selection. Now let's look at her face. We're going to go, this is before, see those bumps, before, after. And I haven't compromised her texture or anything because I am going to deal with her texture, but I don't want to do that yet. I just want to remove the bumps. So now that I've done that, I'm going to try to speed through maybe a little bit of this so you can see. I'm going to do the rest of her body with the same thing, the content aware. So hold the shift button, circle that. And I want to show you this really quick. I keep saying hold the shift button. For those who don't know, let's say I circle that. Now I'm not holding the shift button and I'm going to get to another bump. See what happens? That selection disappears. I want to do all of the bumps that I can find. So you hold the shift button and you keep your old selection. All right, so keep that in mind. When you're doing content aware, hold that shift button. I'm going to look, see more. I'm still holding the shift button. I'm not doing anything else. Just selecting the parts of her skin that I want to get rid of. See her arm. I see a bump here, a bump here. And when you're editing, you want to zoom in and out a lot because you want to see before and after, and you want to make sure you're not missing anything. Right? All right. So now edit, fill, content aware, boom. All right. So let's take a look here. Before, after. Big difference. All right. And her texture of her skin is still the same. Before, after. Big. Still want to do a little more though. This is good, but I want to do more. Edit, fill, content aware. Boom. See that? Get this mark here. Edit, fill, content aware. And this is what I'm doing. This takes a little bit of time. You can speed through it, of course, but like I said, you always want to try to give your best face for your clients for anything that you put out here for people to see. So even though I'm speeding through this and I'm not giving it exactly all the detail, all of the meticulous detail that I might do, still, I want to give you guys something. Like I said, I want a final image that when I say, okay, this is the final image, you look at it, you say, okay, that actually looks professional. So here we go. Here we go. Boom. Edit, fill. And now I'm just going to keep repeating. Now I've gotten there. Now I'm going to go to her legs. Um, all right. That, 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 even that. If I would have shot this with a cell phone, all of this detail wouldn't show. But shooting mirrorless cameras and DSLRs, you're going to get this detail, and it's not always good to have it there. So yes, even these dark parts of our legs, I wanna clean this up too. Some people don't. I've actually had some of my photographer friends who we goof off with. They say, "Oh, why are you doing that? You don't need all of that." Uh, it's just me. I can't help it. Especially when I start getting into like a role with editing. Um, I get locked in and that's it. All right. So I'm gonna stop here only because I could be on her foot for a while, and you get the idea. You can play with that. You can do a lot of things to get rid of that. But I'm gonna try to stop here. All right, and get to the more of the meat and potatoes of this. So let's do before. Let me get in here so you can see. This is before. This is after. So a lot of bumps are removed, but now we want to deal with her skin. Her skin is looking a little, I want to merge some of these highlights and these lowlights and just make them look a little bit even. And I want to smoothen her skin. I don't know any female model or subject who doesn't want to have their skin smoothened some. So I will do that. Um, so I have an action that I use in a Shark Pixel. I do know how to do frequency separation from beginning to end, but I like to have the action. The Shark Pixel action works. I have actually a whole set that I have on doing things, but at this point, I only use the frequency separation. But there's a lot of stuff with Shark Pixel. You can find them at sharkpixel.com. They have a lot of actions you can buy, brushes you can buy if you're into that kind of thing. But I do like it makes my skin smoothing easier. So if I just click on it, it's going to start the process. It's doing its thing. This pixel button, you can raise that or lower that depending on your camera. I happen to know 8 works for my computer and my Nikon cameras, so I'm going to keep it at 8. I'll finish, and it's going to let it do its thing. And now it's telling me that we can go. Okay, I had to pause the video. I had a very important phone call that I had to take. But anyway, um, so um, the action is done here. So now I'm going to hit continue. So with frequency separation, it's made a couple of layers here. So I'll try to explain. Like I said, it's not a frequency separation class, but if I'm going to show you editing, I do have to explain this. So um, you have low tone, which is what you would use to smoothen the skin and deal with skin color. Um, this retouch is a part of the action, and you can use it in conjunction with your skin tone. I happen to don't use that retouch thing. When you do frequency separation, you create your own action or you get another action. You can do it another way. I don't use retouch. There's two high texture um, features here, and that's very similar. That those layers are really used to remove the bumps. I just happen to prefer using my own layer to get rid of bumps and using the content aware. But if you didn't want to do that, you could use this fixed texture heal and you could use a patch tool to remove bumps. Like I said, I don't like that method. I use the my own layer, and then I go through using the content aware tool. Whatever you like, whatever works, it all gets you to the same place at the end of the day. This is just my workflow and how I edit. Okay. The great thing about Photoshop is you can do one thing in maybe 20 different ways and get the same thing done. So whatever works for you. But what I really do use frequency separation for is for smoothing the skin. So I'm going to focus on this low tone layer. And like anything, I think anybody does with Photoshop, you generally want to make a duplicate layer of it in case you make a mistake. So I'm going to hit Control J to make another copy of this layer. And I'm going to start doing what I need to do. So I'm going to take the lasso tool, which is right here, or you can hit L on your keyboard. That's a shortcut for the lasso. And the first thing I'm going to do is go after her head right here. I'm going to select it. I'm going to hit Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Now when I do that, um, it has smoothed her skin already, as you can see the before and after just like that. But I want to show you, this is at 12 megapixels. Um, I tend not to go crazy with this. Everybody, again, you can use the numbers that you want. I tend to stick at like 12 and maybe 15, somewhere around that range. But I'll give you an example. Let's say I was to use 35 megapixels. To me, it's made it too, it's merged the colors too much. I actually like that little highlight in a person's face that comes from the flash. Again, that's very subjective. Everybody's different. So I'm gonna use a number like 12. And I know and I like that, okay? And there you go. So after I've selected that, I'm gonna hit Control D to deselect. And let's do a before and after. That's before and that's after. So you can see clearly that there is a difference there in her skin. It looks smoother. It's not as muddled. The skin kind of graduates from one to another much better. So now that I've done that, I'm going to take other parts of her skin. I'm going to get on to other parts of her face. All right. And you can be a little bit liberal with your selections. Just, you don't have, you can grab quite a bit. I'm going to do filter blur, Gaussian blur. I'm going to keep it at 12 megapixels. And I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to deselect again. I'm going to go to the next part of her skin. Don't really do Gaussian blur, by the way, on eyes and noses and lips. When you're doing this skin smooth, like her eyes, there's another application for that. Don't mess with the pupils. I don't recommend it, or her eyeballs with that. Now, if I know I'm going to do 12 with everything, I don't need to keep going filter, blur, Gaussian blur. There's a shortcut. It's Alt, Control, and F. And as soon as I do that, if you can see, her skin automatically went and it applied the same results that I did at 12 megapixels. And I'm actually going to do her nose too. I almost forgot that. Let's smoothen her nose. Let's see how we do there. I'm going to actually go back to, instead of using 12 automatically, I want to look and see with her nose what 12 looks like. And I actually like that, so I'm going to say okay. So now let's do a before and an after. Now I think that's a nice difference. That's before and after. Her skin looks a lot better. I'm still not finished. I'm going to now play with her chest area. So I'm going to use the lasso tool again. I'm going to select a healthy portion of this part of her skin. Okay. I'm not touching that fan, by the way. And I'm going to do Control F. There we go. I like that. Now I'm going to get to the arm here. Control F. There you go. Before, after, before, after. Big difference. Just that alone. Okay, on her skin. Okay, let's grab this part, her arm. Even though her arm is not in focus there, you still want to smoothen out the skin. You don't want to just leave it. Today, with technology the way it is, people see, trust me, people zoom in with their phones and they're looking at a lot of detail. Not everyone, but you just want to make sure you give somebody good work. So I'm going to get on her legs here and smoothen this out. Um, make sure it looks even. We're going to go over here, get her foot area. Okay. Now I probably would do a little more here, but again, I want to kind of speed through. I'm already almost 20 minutes into this video, so it's already longer than I would have wanted or I thought this was going to be. But you can take these tools and work with them. So that's skin smoothing. Now I'm not finished yet. I did this skin. You can see definitely a difference. There's another thing that I do. It's called dodging and burning. Dodging and burning, in short, is just re-highlighting highlights and redarkening certain dark parts. When I did the frequency separation, one of the things that happens is it smoothens out everything, but sometimes you actually want some of those highlights and some of those lowlights in the picture. So dodging and burning is a way to kind of re-enter those things into your picture without actually um, having it as muddy as it looked before. So with dodging and burning, I'm going to go to my dodge layer and the mask is hidden. Really quick thing about Photoshop. If it's in black, that mask is black. you can see it hides the adjustment that that dodge layer represents. If it's in white, let me do this really quick. You see how bright it looks? That's how I wanted the highlights to be. But I don't want the image to look like that. So Control I inverts it and hides what I had there. And now if I want to add some of that brightness, I take my brush and I start to draw it in. Now you see my opacity is at 3, but I'm going to give you a quick example. This is at 100 opacity. That same spot that I'm going to paint on this layer. You see how bright that is? You don't want that. No one wants that, okay? So I'm going to erase that with Control Z because that's not what I was trying to do. But in order to be subtle with it, you want to lower the opacity of the brush. I'm selecting 3. Yes, that's a very low number, but I want it to be very subtle. So now I'm going to re-enter this highlights, and as you can see, it's a subtle adjustment. See before and after. As I'm drawing it, you can barely see what I'm doing. That's intentional, okay? I just want to bring back some of the highlights that are here. Now, a lot of photographers and editors really use dodge and burn as the basis of their edit. I don't. Dodging and burning can be very time consuming, rewarding, but time consuming. And because I am a working photographer, I don't have a lot of time sometimes to do a deep dodge and burn. So I do what I can, and that's it. All right. Now I could spend more time on this because I find myself wanting to do that, but I'm not. I'm going to go past this. This is just a general idea again, so you can see it. Okay. Burning is the same thing as dodging, but it's just darkening. So I'm not going to do that here. Like I said, I'm really spending too much time already here. But if I was to burn, I would burn the lower portions, the shadow parts. I would make them a little bit darker just to add some contrast. I'm going to kind of skip through that. The black and white layer, I created the black and white layer because I want to see the actual graduation from highlight to low light in her skin. And if it's in black and white, it's a little bit easier for me to see. But this black and white layer is not going to stay in my final image. I'm going to hide it, and I'm actually going to delete it because I'm already finished my dodge and burn process. The curve adjustment is also to, again, bring out the highlights and the lowlights. I'm not keeping this, and if I am keeping it, I'm doing it at a much lower opacity. It's not going to be at 100. Now I'm going to scroll back. I'm going to do a before and after just to look, because curve adjustments, sometimes I keep them and sometimes I don't. I like this, and this is too much, but I do want to have a little more contrast in the image. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lower the opacity. I'm going to drop it quite a bit because I just want it to be subtle. Now a before and after. I don't even know if you can see that, but I can see it's a subtle adjustment, and I like that. And a little thing that I do, let me show you a little trick. Sometimes I only want the contrast in her skin. I don't want that curve adjustment on the whole image. So if I wanted to do that, I'm going to take this curve adjustment, it's global right now. I'm going to raise the opacity again. It's global. It's all over the image. It's in the staircase. It's in the corners. It's in everywhere. It's in her skin. But let's just say I only want it in her skin, nothing else. I'm going to invert it. To hide it, I'm going to go to Select, and I'm going to click on Subject. In Photoshop, like Lightroom, is going to make a selection of just her. Now, if I go Edit, Fill, and I change the contents to white, and I hit OK, it has now made that adjustment only on her skin, what I selected. Okay? So the rest of the picture is the way it was, but only her skin is affected. And I actually want to have some adjustment because I happen to like the depth of her skin with that curve adjustment, but I still think it's too strong. So I'm going to pull back some. I'm going to pull back, and I'm watching, and I think 32% is good. Yeah, it added some depth, but it's not crazy. I'm going to leave it right there. Okay? Now, it's a good image, but I'm not finished just yet. I want to do something with her eyes. I want to make her eyes pop because we always go to the person's eyes. So I'm going to make a layer. I'm going to make a, another curve adjustment. I'm going to brighten the whole image, but I'm not looking at her skin. I'm only looking at the eyes. I want to fix the eyes. I want to make the whites a little brighter. So I'm going to bring this up really high, and I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to invert that layer so that you don't see it again. I have my brush, hit the B key or just go to it. I'm going to raise the opacity to 100%. I'm going to go to her eyes right here. Okay? And I'm going to paint the white into her eyes. All right? Just a little. Now, obviously, guys, that's too bright. So I'm going to go filter, blur, Gaussian blur, because I want to. Gaussian blur is also good at lowering opacity and just smoothing out things. I don't want that white to be too bright, and I don't want it to be too hard with the brush. So the blur kind of smoothens out what I've just painted. I think let's try 16 megapixels. You can see it kind of smoothens out her eyes. Okay, so now we have a before and an after. That's pretty good. I'm going to take the brush. Now, if you look carefully, let me show you guys something. Some of that white actually kind of went into her eyebrows, I mean her lashes, things like that. I don't want that. So I'm going to take this mask that's here. I'm going to I hit Alt and I hit the mask, and you can see um, where I painted. But like I said, I want to get rid of some of that. So I'm going to hit the X key. That's going to take that paintbrush, that it's going to take my brush, and it's going to go from black to white, from white to black. So now it's black. I'm going to erase some of that I did. So I'm just going to go over this slowly to erase some of that highlight, some of that whitening I did. Okay. Okay. Subtle, but I think important. Okay. So I just want to bring out the whites in her eyes. Now, here's another thing that I do. I'm going to make a new layer because I'm still not finished. A new layer. And I'm going to take everything, all these adjustments, every last one of these adjustments, and I'm going to put them all in one image, into one layer, I should say. And in order to do that, you hit Control, Alt, Shift, and E. And when you do that at the same time, I've now made all the adjustments are on this one picture, one layer right here. So I'm going to sharpen her eyes a little bit. And I want to just add a little, I want the eyes to pop a little bit more. So the way I do that, I'm going to change the blend mode to linear light. I'm going to go filter, other, high pass. And here's another thing. Now I'm going to look at her eyes. See, eyes are very detailed. Obviously, her skin is like that. I don't want that. You don't want her lips to look like that. You don't want that. Everything I've done, I just basically destroyed. But we're not going to keep that like that. This is just for her eyes. So I'm going to hit OK. Now I'm going to make a layer mask. And I'm going to hit Control I to invert. Now I've taken all the adjustments away. So it looks like it did originally when I created this merged layer. I'm going to take my brush, hit the X tool to make it white again. Go to my brush tool, opacity at 100. And now I'm going to go to her eyes. I'm going to go to her eyelashes to add a little depth here. Go to the pupil. Maybe play with the eyebrows a little bit. And that's it. If I think it's too strong, if you think it's too strong, oh yeah, sometimes I do this too. I'll even do this with the hair and clothing too sometimes. I'm not going to do it here, but sometimes I'll do clothing. Just to show you, I'll just do it. I don't think with this particular dress you really need it. And the image is a bit of a environmental portrait. But with headshots and things like that, you really go crazy with this sharpening. Well, not go crazy, but you would do a lot of sharpening here. Now I'm going to lower the opacity. Little small tip that I'll give to you guys. When you're doing work and you're asking about opacity, if it looks perfect, sometimes I just by habit lower the opacity a little because it's really easy to go too crazy, and then when you look at your final image, it's just bad. So I've sharpened the eyes. Now I'm gonna make another layer, and I'm gonna do the same thing I did before. Control Alt Shift and E. Now this is everything that I have, again, including that sharpening I just did at the eyes. Now I'm gonna do a final sharpening, and this is a you know a global sharpening. I'm gonna go sharpen, unsharp mask. I'm gonna keep it at 10 megapixels. Excuse me. Keeping it subtle. Hit enter. That just did a very global sharpening of everything. You may not even be able to see it. It's very subtle, but if you look carefully, you can see it's just a slight sharpening. So we have here, here. So now that I finished this, I'm done here now pretty much. I'm going to take all these layers. I'm going to hit the shift. I'm going to hit that. And then I'm going to hit G to make that into a group. And I'm doing that so I can show you guys the before and after. This is before. This is after. Before, after. Excuse me. And believe it or not, I would probably still do a little more work on her skin, but I've already been here way too long. And I'm going to leave it there. For the last thing, I'll give you guys one last tip. So, because when you're doing all these layers, you're making a huge image. And, you're dealing with a 45 megapixel camera or whatever, even 24 megapixels. That's a lot of space. So, a lot of people are say they don't ever do this, but I do it a lot of times. I will simply get rid of all these layers. This is the last layer I worked on. And this is my background layer. Now I'm not ever deleting the background layer, and I don't want to get rid of the top layer. But all the work in between, I don't need it anymore. I'm just going to go delete. It's gone. And now that I'm done, I hit Control S to save. It's doing its thing. And now, when I go back to Lightroom, that image that I edited is there. So there's your before, and there's your after. And now that I'm finished, I'm going to export it. It's in my folder. I have my little watermark. This is another thing that you guys can see, but to convert this image into a JPEG that you can actually post or give to a client, you do that. I did it, and voila, that is the end of my image. Um, there you go. I don't know what just happened there, guys. Bear with me, but that is my final image right there. Um, that is a before and after, and there you have it. That is how um, an edit is done. How I kind of go through my flow. Like I said, if I had more time, I would probably do a little bit more, but here you go. I hope you guys like it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care.